We all seem to be standing.
Oh, I'll sit down.
Yeah. Couldn't help noticing that you failed to shake hands with one of my guests.
I guess I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute. Are you fellas not...
What? No. Nothing.
Well, let's get... Are you
No.
friends? Or are you polite enemies? Let me put that another way. Are you impolite friends?
Well, I'll tell you what we are, because it's interesting, really. I don't know any other case in my life like it. We were friends last time we saw each other, which was about 2 or 3 years ago. And since then, we've been doing nothing but write atrocious things about each other.
I don't like to book people on because they don't like each other, and I don't even book the people necessarily. Occasional opinion, but I did realize that you two have written a number of things about each other.
Yes, Gore's have been long and mine have been short.
But you said
Yours seemed long.
Time magazine asked you for a quote. I think this is in the beginning of The Prisoner of Sex, and you said that the subject needed some thought or something like that, and if you want short quotable quotes, you would go to somebody like Gore Vidal. But you made it sound a little more
No,
snide
it was worse than that. I said that that the need of the magazine reader for a remark which he could repeat at dinner was best served by writers with names like Gore Vidal.
That's right. I badly misquoted you.
All those writers called Gore Vidal.
I know there are thousands of them. Yeah. Well.
I'd really like to get into a discussion with Gore. He's been saying absolutely unspeakable things about me. He's been acting even worse than he usually does as a polemicist. You know, he's really, he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
Okay.
I mean, the perfect proof of what he does is that leave it to Gore to write a play about Richard Nixon. You know, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to end up liking Nixon. I mean, it's getting to the point, if you want to make $1 million, you know, carve up Richard Nixon's back with a knife. You know, poor president, he can't defend himself.
You said
vote for him?
Well, if I keep reading and hearing, you know, and you and Roth keep making these killings, which just excites my economic envy, of course I'll vote for him. I'll finally say they're doing too much. He's not a bad man. He created peace with China, you know. Watch out.
Well, it's a very quiet moment here that we
There is a
have,
quiet
Dick,
moment.
and,
I wanted to give you time to
think of
defend
something?
yourself slightly there if you felt you needed to. Do you feel you've been attacked?
No, I'm very fond of Norman. There's nothing he can do to attack me.
Gore, you can afford to be fond of me because you said the scurrilous things about me.
What did I say about you that was so scurrilous? I attacked your piece.
No, don't bring up everything.
No, we'll just go. Bring a little bit. I attacked.
I want to tell you something,
I attacked your
Janet Flanner,
piece.
if I may. Gore may bring up everything because the contents of his stomach are no more interesting than the contents of the stomach of an intellectual cow.
And Norman Mailer, the veal. being a,
While we're slinging meat at each other, there'll be a message, and we'll be right back. Somebody bring this all into focus.
I'll try to bring it into focus. Norman did a book on women's liberation. And his attitudes towards sex, some very interesting, some quite outrageous. His very anti-women's liberation piece, and he was very mean to a couple of the girls, particularly Kate Millett. And I answered his piece, and a number of others. You know, Norman is taking everything too personally. This is something I care about. And he happened to be one of my examples of what was wrong with what the women's lib people would call sexism. He has come out firmly against masturbation. He has come out against contraception, against abortion. He has a line that good sex makes good babies. Well, maybe it does, but
That wasn't
I
the
worry.
line.
You give us the exact word. And my
Good.
point...
Give good babies.
Yeah, good blip gives good baby. Which may or may not be true, but...
May or may not, but interesting.
But no, I didn't think it was very interesting. No,
I think it's fascinating as a premise. I mean, did Muhammad Ali come out of a good
For heaven's sake,
or a
putting
bad
everything
one?
on muscles, that doesn't... how about geniuses? They're born in the most rachitic people, very often, in disgraceful situations.
We're not talking about geniuses. We're talking about good babies.
Maybe they were delightfully good babies. How
Some
can
and
you
some were
tell?
probably atrocious babies. Genius is transcendence. You know that. You can't bring in genius in any discussion about what makes
Well,
good
I expect
babies.
an infant
really.
genius is not so transcendent all the time.
Always.
Still has to be changed and things of that sort.
No, don't you think genius is transcendence? Really? What else is it?
Transcendence of what?
of the given. Otherwise, we're not talking about genius. We're talking about talent, about style, about manner.
Oh, my gracious, I don't think I've ever...
superb
Which of us has ever
economy.
met a genius?
Which is what?
Which of us has ever met a genius?
I met Chaplin. He was a genius.
I think that's fair.
And I knew
I've
it when
met
I
him
met
too.
him. There was no question. You didn't argue with it.
But you will admit that you were accused of being a chauvinist of the worst kind.
Well, I
by
know, but that's what's
Kate Millett
wrong.
and-
That's
and,
what's wrong with women's liberation, which is it's a new and it's a young
Oh, for
movement.
goodness sake, now let's not go back onto that.
I'd love to talk about it for 2 minutes
Oh,
every day.
dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. We've heard it all.
Angel, it's my time now. And the law of the dinner table is that we now talk about what I want to talk about.
Who passed this law?
Didn't you? Don't we agree?
Who passed this law, did you say?
This law, this dinner table law, I never heard of it. Never
Well,
heard of it.
it's just that I listen to you.
It's going to be coffee time any minute.
I knew that when I came to your house for dinner, I wouldn't get anything to eat. But pass the coffee.
Yeah, that's it.
But no, you have been called in great detail a male chauvinist of the worst kind, and various stories of yours, as you know, were cited. And this is all water under the bridge, I suppose. But
it's just nonsense. It's just ridiculous. If I have anything at all, I have a complicated mind. In fact, I have a mind so complicated that Gore has said with some justice that my style is getting unreadable. It's one thing in his critique that I agree with. My style is getting difficult. It's hard when you have a lot in your head to write something. It's true. Gore has never encountered this problem.
What did you say? I wasn't listening, Norman. What was it? What were we talking?
Small mind, no matter.
No, don't be autobiographical all the time.
Well.
what did you ask him if he had a copy of this notorious piece of writing?
This notorious piece of writing, yes, he brought the one page of it, which was my piece on women's liberation.
It was more of the same after that, Gore.
And a piece on women's liberation, and particularly on the people who had started to attack the women, and some of the attacks, particularly male, Irving Howe, I thought uncalled for in their tone, and I suppose I was kind of rough in mine. But these things aren't personal.
Oh, I know
This to me is a position that I'm taking, that I have taken. I'm very serious about politics. I'm very serious about this kind of thing.
No, Gore, you're not, and that's what I objected to in the piece.
Well, then that's up to you to prove.
Well, it's our little argument, if you don't mind.
Well.
You're not serious about politics. You've been in politics all your life, you've dabbled in it superbly well. I mean, you made a marvelous race for Congress some years ago in New York. You worked very hard. I admired the way you worked at that time. You're one of the wonderful things about you is that with all your sort of profound, essential right-wing snobbery, you become America's second or third or fourth most lovely liberal, which is one of the prestidigitation games of the intellectual world of the last 20 years.
Second, third, fourth?
Well, who's ahead of you? Nader and a couple other people. At any rate, the thing is that you have no standards. You have nothing you really are serious about, and you pay and play terrible games. You go in for intellectual adulteration, and that's what I won't put up with. You can do anything you want to any piece I ever write. You can rip it apart. You can tear it up, and by God, I may be bloody on the floor. But if you taught me something about writing, I'll look up and I'll love you for having taught me something about writing. But when you teach me something about the tricks of adulteration that exist in the world. When you talk about the sort of rot that goes on in ecology, you see about the rivers will never be clean again, and you pollute the intellectual rivers. Good God!
Well, I must
that's
say,
vomitous.
I think it worries you that I made some comments about your recent writing not being very good.
Well, I think it's excellent, but that's neither here nor there.
I wasn't setting myself up as the famous writers' school, to give you any hints. It's just that I thought
Why don't you try to
your
talk
subject.
just once, Gore, without yucks? Why don't you just talk to me instead of talking to the audience, huh?
Well, by a curious thing, we have not found ourselves in a friendly neighborhood bar, but both by election are sitting here with an audience. So therefore, it would be dishonest of us to pretend otherwise.
All right, Gore, look. We are here with an audience by choice. But let us at least. Hey, Miss Flanner, are you working as the referee or as Mr. Vidal's manager? I'm perfectly willing to accept you in either role.
It is hard when you both talk at the
Yes,
same
manager.
Yes.
But my mind is fragile. I find it very hard to think, and if you're muttering in the background, it's difficult.
Wow!
He lost for mayor of New York. I never learned how.
You both lost, didn't you? I mean, you're both your two unsuccessful political candidates.
Gore was a very good politician, actually. He fought an uphill fight and he almost won. He did very well and he worked very hard at it. I ran an absolutely foolish, scandalously bad campaign, a stupid campaign. I was a total amateur and I'm ashamed of that campaign. It was awful and I did the most to defeat myself. So it's not a matter of that. I like fair measure on things that were done and Gore worked. I know how tough politics is now, and Gore was a very good politician when he ran. Very good, a serious, sensible, hard-working, and he played the game, which is a tough game.
What's happened to him since then, according to your lights?
He's gone up and he's going down. He's going up and he's going down, like many another.
Well, I know what annoys him about you because he's written it, and it's the idea of your having sort of assumed the Hemingway lifestyle when Hemingway died, and he called it the.
But I haven't assumed that Hemingway.
Once, the boozing, brawling, goyish fool, worried about his liver.
That worried me. That was an earlier period. That was an earlier period. That was the period of advertisements for myself when Norman was sounding like that. No, he's changed again. The good thing about him is his constant metamorphosis. He does re-bear himself like the phoenix, and what the next incarnation will be, I don't know.
Well, you seem to have me figured out as the next reincarnation for me is going to be Charles Manson.
Well, you let yourself...
Why don't you read what you wrote?
You let yourself in for it, and I will tell you, I'll give a little background here, that Mailer has
We all know that I stabbed my wife many years ago. We do know that, Gore. You were playing on that. Now, come on.
I'm not to forget about it. Listen,
well, no, you don't want to forget about it. You're a liar and a hypocrite. You were playing on it.
But that wasn't a lie or a hypocrisy. I wasn't going to talk about it.
The fact of the matter is that people who read the New York Review of Books know perfectly well. They know all about it. And it's your subtle little way of doing it. You know, the New Yorker once...
Oh, I'm beginning to see what bothers you now. Okay, I'm getting the point.
Are you ready to apologize?
I would apologize if it hurts your feelings. Of course I would.
No, it hurts my sense of intellectual pollution.
Well, I must say, as an expert, you should know about that.
I would like to... Yes, well, I've had to smell your works from time to time, and that has helped me to become an expert on intellectual pollution, yes.
Yeah, well... I was going to say, I was not going to...
Men insult each other, not only in public, but you act as if you were in private. That's the odd way.
It's the art of television, isn't it?
It's very odd that you act as if you were the only people here.
Aren't we?
They are here. He's here. I'm here. And I'm becoming very, very bored.
My... You still haven't told me whether you're Gore's manager or the referee.
If you make history here by punching a lady...
I won't have it.
Now, look, you see the sort of thing that goes on. Now you say if I make history by punching a lady. You know perfectly well that I'm the gentlest of the four people here.
I just hope it lasts through the next whatever we have left.
I guarantee you I wouldn't hit any of the people here because they are smaller.
In what ways?
Intellectually.
Well.
Intellectually smaller.
Well, let me turn my chair and join these three. Perhaps you'd like two more chairs to contain your giant intellect.
Why don't you look at your question sheet and ask a question? Hey, can I talk to the audience for a
Why
moment?
don't you fold it 5 ways and put it where the moon don't shine?
Cavett, on your word of honor, did you just make that up, or have you had it canned for years and were you waiting for the best moment to use it?
I have to tell you a quote from Tolstoy.
You just made it up, didn't you? You just made it up on the spur of the moment. You're a poet.
Yeah, right.
You're really a poet.
Are you in awe of the creative ability?
I'm always in awe of the creative ability whenever it appears in its fair presence, which is as itself. Now, look, I want to get into something, if I may. I'd like to talk to this audience, because this
Your show,
audience
no?
has been curiously hostile to me from the word go. Now, I want to ask all of you something. Are you really all truly idiots, or is it me?
Oh, that was the easy answer. Come on.
So I was going to ask the audience what I was doing that was making them cheer every time the other side connected with a pass from one to the other of my three opponents.
But not I.
All right, that's fair. Someone said I'm rude, and someone said I'm being a snot.
Wait,
The
we have
joint is
enough.
loaded with libbies. My God, it wasn't enough to trundle Janet Flanner along, the most formidable presence in the history of television, but you had to load the balcony with your libbies, your little libbies.
Nowhere else to go for a good laugh.
Oh, now wait a minute. There was only one lady's voice that rang out. Do you consider that loaded?
It was the voice of legions.
Well,
Why do you
I'm-
have to argue so negatively and insulting to your guests or the other people out
They're not my guests. They're not my guests any more than
That's
they're your
interesting. She
guests.
assumes it's your show now.
Why do you have to answer them with always insults and nasty statements and they're answering you maturely and with dignity?
Well, that's because they are mature and full of dignity, and they'd cut my throat in any alley. And I answer rudely because I'm crude and a lout and a clod. That's why. Now, have we progressed at all? Can I reach you? Can I talk to any of you, or is it hopeless? I mean, do you care to listen? I do have a thing or two to say, believe it or not.
Sir, I can accept your honest responsibility. It's very hard for me to get to.
Well, I'm bored with being misrepresented, you see. I've been misrepresented by my own paranoid lights for 25 years in this country, something like that. And to find an old literateur like Gore Vidal, who knows his way around, you know, in prize-fighting terms, Gore is like that fellow who is always ranked. I mean, he's been ranked at anywhere from number 9 to number 3 for 2 once in a while for 20 years. He's sort of like Archie Moore, but not nearly as good. And he's been around for all those years. He knows the ropes. And then suddenly, after all these years, he suddenly developed a particularly dirty literary game. Well, it inflames me. You know, I've been so bold as to pretend to be the presumptive literary champ, you know, whether I deserve to be or not. The reason people always talk about me in relation to Hemingway is just that Hemingway at a certain point said to himself, with his huge paranoia, they're going to kill me for this, but I am going to be the champ. It's all I care about. And it shifted the course of American letters, because up to that point, people who wrote books were men of letters. They were gentlemen. They wrote books. And Hemingway, it said in effect, no, people who write books take as much punishment as prize fighters, and one of them has to be a champion. Now, we've had a time that has not been interesting in terms of champions. In Hemingway's time, there were great writers. There was Faulkner, and there was Hemingway, and there were many other writers like Steinbeck and Farrell and Dos Passos and Thomas Wolfe, many, many really wonderful writers. Our time has been much more complicated. And there haven't been that many really extraordinary writers around. And I have presumed, with all my extraordinary arrogance and loutishness and crudes, to step forth and say, I'm going to be the champ until one of you knocks me off. Well, fine, but, you know, they don't knock me off because they're too damn simply yellow. And they kick me in. And I don't like it. All this is about is I wrote a book called The Prisoner of Sex, which started off to be a book about women's liberation and what I thought of it. For Harper's magazine. And in the course of it, I found that I couldn't begin to think about what I thought about women's liberation until I began to decide what I thought about sex. Well, you know, I'm 48 years old, and I've lived a bit of a life, and I found that what I thought about sex was extraordinarily complex to me, and not simple at all, and I had many thoughts about it, back and forth, and a huge number of feelings about women's liberation, because I admired aspects of it and detested other aspects of it, and wrestled with it, and my mind changed a bit as I thought about it. And this book was an attempt to write about these things and think about these things and talk about them. And after the book was written, it was as if I had not written the book. The word that came out is, I was a male chauvinist pig. Well, that's dull. It's just dull. It's beneath us as Americans to think in thick, frozen terms of intellectual pollution.
Excuse me.
Then Gore, Gore comes along on his toes. He's a marvelous little boxer, as you saw. And Gore comes along and starts polluting these waters further. But he knows what he's doing. That's the trouble. He's a bad man.
To answer Norman's charge about what a bad person I am, the attack on him really, if you want to know Norman, simply what I detest in you, and I like many things in you, as you know. I'm a constant friend despite this. But your violence, your love of murder, your celebration of rage, of hate, American dream, what was the dream? A man murders his wife and then his woman afterwards to celebrate an American man's dream. This violence, this knocking people down, this carrying on, is a terrible thing. Now, it may make you a great artist. It may make you a great artist.
1 minute at the end. I'll listen, but I demand 1 minute at the end to return.
It may make you an interesting artist. I don't say that. But to the extent that one is interested in the way that the society is going, there is quite enough of this stress, quite enough of this violence without what I think are your celebrations of it, your attitude towards women in this thing, which I thought really horrible. And you said I compared you to Charles Manson. I said Henry Miller in his way, Norman in his, and Manson in his far-out mad way are each reflecting a hatred of women and a hatred of flesh. And frankly, if I may say so,
There has been, from Henry Miller to Norman Mailer to Charles Manson, a logical progression, period. The Miller-Manson man, or M3 for short, has been conditioned to think of women as at best breeders of sons, at worst objects to be poked, humiliated, killed. And from there on in the piece, you speak of Miller, the great writer, Henry Miller, the greatest writer alive in America. If we're going to talk like muckers, I'll talk too like a mucker. Henry Miller, the greatest writer alive in America, and myself, and Charles Manson, a hugely complex Raskolnikovian figure, are spoken of, lumped together as M3. Now, do you call that good intellect working? To lump together three people as curious? As Henry Miller, Norman Mailer, and Charles Manson?
Well, you must read the piece. You can't go...
I read it.
You have to read it, but the audience is not. You are selecting this one passage as representative of the whole. I make my case very carefully, but I will say, giving you a few minutes more on the program, you will prove my point. It is, I come back to what I said, I detest this violence in you. You have actually written that murder is never non-sexual.
Well, is it ever non-sexual?
Well, I'm even told...
Don't you know, Gore?
Not having murdered anybody lately, no, I don't know. I'm going to give you a line that Degas said to Whistler, two celebrated painters, and Whistler was a great performer like Norman. And Degas said, you know, Whistler, you act as if you had no talent.
Yes, Gore, and I read it...
You present yourself as though you really had no talent at all, and of course you are one of our best writers.
And I read it in the same place you read it, which is Edmund Wilson's answer to Vladimir Nabokov in last week's Times.
What's that got to do with it?
I thought it was marvelous.
Good. I'm happy that we both agree that the sentiment is correct.
The difference is that I'd savor the remark and you throw it into the battle. He speaks of a character in a book of mine murdering his wife, a woman, as a celebration of American manhood. Now, I throw myself upon your court, hanging judge. I say that's intellectual muckerism of the worst sort, because the character I had there was a particularly complex character, and in fact, he did not simply murder a woman, he murdered the other way as well, and there was a particularly complicated...
Oh, goodness sake.
Well, it's possible to... I know you've lived in France for many years, but believe me, Janet, it's possible to end a woman another way as well.
So I've heard.
Well, this has been an interesting evening around the old table, and Miss Flanner, I'm glad to see you got that box of cookies that you wanted. And you other two fellas, could you...
The only solace.
Yeah. Let us know who you think won. That would be interesting, and we'll see you next time we're on the air. If